Hello and welcome to ICBI Facebook Live. I'm Suman Agarwal, and with me we have a very, very interesting personality. She has appeared on top TV and radio shows, written many articles, and she is one of the world's #1 image consultant. She is Judith Rasband, world's #1 authority in the image industry, my guru, and curriculum partner of ICBI. So, Judith, welcome to this platform.
Delighted to be here.
How does it feel to be in India?
Well, you know, feel is exactly the right word because there's a definite feel to it. Now, I love being here, and when people ask what I like best, it's the people. Absolutely, and you make me feel wonderful here. But feeling, I'm either freezing cold due to air conditioner, or I'm roasting hot outside, and it's always damp. So I'm always feeling damp. And then, of course, the hair with your humidity. At home, I wear it fairly straight. Here, I come with a perm because my straight hair goes, it just no way works in your humidity. So I had to do something very unique with this hair when I come to India.
Right.
Yeah, it is the feeling. Hello.
Image management is very synonymous to us, but there are some people out there who still are not aware of the topic, image management.
Oh, yes.
So how could you describe image management to these people?
Well, I think image consulting comes first. That's what people tend to know first. And image, synonymous with dress or clothing, grooming, and body language. That's what image, the elements are. But image consulting doesn't explain where I want it to go, the end result. Management is where I want to go. You know, we talk about business management, people have respect for it.
Right.
Money management, time management, and everyone values those resources. But most people do not even think about their dress or their clothing to the degree they should, and they certainly don't think about managing it. Management is talking about being responsible for the dress, the grooming tools and aids, being responsible for them and the use and to achieve the goals. So image management is more of a phrase, and it's intended to get the learner or the audience, the listener, the potential client in a little deeper. Image management is the process of evaluating and controlling. So it's an ongoing process, it should never stop, of evaluating and controlling the effect of our dress and grooming on ourselves and on others and the achievement of our goals. Now that's pretty heavy stuff and definitely important in the life of every one of us.
A lot of people compare image management or the subject, the topic image, with personality development.
Oh, I know, I've heard that.
So how do you make a distinction between the two?
It's actually pretty easy. Images like this and personality development is like this. Personality has to do with your traits. Are you kind? Are you friendly? Are you stern? Are you angry? All of these different kinds of things are coming there. And we're being taught and to develop these nicer traits so that people want to be with us. So we want to be able to get a job, keep a job. That's our personality traits, how easy we are to get along with. But image management, whole different thing, as we're working with more than just the clothes. I say it is the grooming and the body language, which includes etiquette, by the way, so it's how we behave, and it's that niceness of the individual. But image is going to involve our values as well as our personality traits. See, personality isn't enough, and I'll bet you money that no one out there, all across India, who teach personality development, I'll bet they don't get into values and value communication. And that comes with image, absolutely. Personality is dealing with the communications of the clothing. Clothing, we're talking here about semiotic, nonverbal communication. Semiotic meaning the signs or the symbols or the cues that the clothing puts out there. Something so simple as these straight lines and angles right here. They communicate an alertness. They communicate control to some degree. You know, you hear people say, oh, he or she, they're so sharp. Well, where did that word come from? From the color points, the angles here. And that communicates to people a greater concentration on the mental processes and what the outcomes are going to be. See, that's way beyond personality development. Personality development, we want to teach our 1 and 2 and 3-year-old, thank you. Our junior high kids, all of that. But they also need image management, which goes far beyond, right?
We are dealing with a very controversial subject, and that is called clothes. So how do you convince people that clothing is a very important aspect of image?
Well, that's what we're always trying to figure out in this field. We do. We work with literally dress and image clothing. It's the most controversial topic in the world. Perchance maybe second only to religion, okay? But the minute, clothing functions as a second skin, and the minute we give a critique or an advice, a point of advice to change something, oh boy, is that personal, and taken as a threat even. So very controversial and emotional. We should put that in there. It's controversial because it's emotionally based. And we've got to get the people beyond that to be able to work with this. Where I want to go with it is to get to the effects of the clothing on the individual. The whole world gets caught up in first impressions on others. First impressions on you, the wearer of those clothes. And it affects you, the way you think, the way you feel, the way you act, and only then the way others react and respond to us. And that's with reference to the achievement of our goals. So we have these needs, physical needs, psychological needs in our dress, social and aesthetic needs. We need to meet those, but in terms of accomplishing our goals. Now, hello, success. Nothing contributes to success faster than self-presentation, which includes that visual image, the image cues, clues, signs, signals, all of those kinds of things.
In fact, I was coming to that a lot of people have this impression that image management is only for working professionals.
Yes.
So how true is that?
Well, it's partial. It's partial truth. And a lot of people use partial truth to sell a lot of nonsense and non-truth. No, and I have a one-liner I use constantly. We're talking about dress and image in the home, school, church, community, as well as the workplace, too. In the home, those parents are the leaders. We're talking about dress for leadership and professional roles, yes. But who's the leader in the home? And I get the parents saying, my kids don't listen to me. And I want to say, get out of your jeans and T-shirts. Put on a shirt with a collar. It'll lift your look, frame your face. They'll pay attention a little bit longer as you instruct them. And so those parents need to pay attention to dress in a leadership manner. The same in the school. Now, I don't know about how your schools are here or in India. I've not studied that. But I'm studying it constantly in America, and we've got major problems. And a lot of our students, they're not just showing up for school, they're showing off. They're coming to school to show off. And we've got problems. And our teachers, we've got this whole dress down trend, the casualization of America. And our teachers have dressed down, assuming or using as a crutch or an excuse that they've got to dress down so their students can relate to them. I'm going to say nonsense. The teacher should be who the student looks up to and wants to develop themselves to become like. They should be the role model. So our teachers, we need them to dress to a professional level. I'm not talking about a three-piece suit, anything to that degree, but seriously, going to class wearing your jacket, you can slip it off and get more friendly. A lot of teachers say they've got to be the friend, the student's friend. No, you don't. It's not the parent. They're not their friend. They're friendly.
Yes.
But they should still maintain this level of knowledge, ability, skills, all of this.
And credibility for that matter.
That goes along with it.
Yeah.
And that's what they're going to impart to the students. So home, school, church, as well as the community and into the workplace.
Absolutely. I completely agree. In fact, I wanted to ask you that how do you see today's generation, in terms of following the concepts of image management? Are they following or they have a long way to go?
Well, okay, today's generation, and right now, we're even going younger than the so-called millennials. We had the traditionalists, which came through the Depression. They didn't have anything. They wanted to give their children anything and everything, and they did. And kind of spoiled us in a way. But then the baby boomers. Now, they were the one after the Depression, and they brought in lots of children to the mix. The traditionalists knew how to dress. They taught their children, but in the process, the baby boomers kind of lost it. We've got a lot of baby boomers who don't know how to dress. And then in terms of designations, they called it Gen X, Gen Y, which I spell W-H-Y. That Gen Y wants to know, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do it? Why? And then, so Gen X, Gen Y, and it's also called the millennials, okay? Our millennials are the generation who have never known life without a computer, without a handheld phone device of some sort.
Right.
And that generation is getting so lost into it. All of the research that we're seeing now is indicating they don't know how to talk well enough because they're into that and texting. They're not reading, and some even refuse to do much reading. So not reading, not writing. And in some places, they're just continuing teaching cursive writing. Well, there were skills, mental skills and abilities that come from learning that. They're missing it. So we have this whole generation that are missing a lot of the information skills they need to cope in society. And then we come down to this next generation, which I have seen printed, calling it Generation Z. Okay, X, Y, Z. Now, we don't have much information about them yet. But I am even starting to read that millennials may be starting to shift, may be recognizing that they put too much attention into these devices at the loss of some of their own social skills, and they're going to need it back. Now that's going to come to us. We're going to have to help them. We've also had the whole world influenced by the casualization of America, and your young people are picking up on it too. Picking up on our teenagers wearing holes in their clothing, shredded jeans, and things of that sort. And it's not surprising. Every generation wants to set themselves apart from the previous, from their parents. And dress has always been seen as a safe way to make these expressions, even of rebellion, defiance or rebellion. And so people wearing these kinds of clothes, they're branding themselves as defiant and rebellious. And this is problematic. And what I'm concerned about is the effect on the brain. As these clothes, lowering the standards of dress and self-presentation, that it's also causing, or should we say allowing them to lower their standards in other areas, their manners, their morals, their productivity. We're seeing loss of identity. So I think our millennials and this upcoming Generation Z is going to need our help to help them restore and recognize, capture, and develop their own image identity.
So is this the denim generation?
We talk about the denimization of America. You don't want this to happen in India. You don't want the denimization of India. Denims has been around ever since 1849 in the mines and for durability clothes. We got it in the 50s as a social, it was the 1950s, and the parents started wearing them. Long history there, we don't have time to go into that. But we wore them for relaxed occasions. Where I grew up in Washington State, we went into the woods, we went to the beach, and we always wore our jeans, picnics and outdoor activities. So we had a place for them. And after school, we never wore them to school. Now we've got our generations wearing nothing but their jeans. And without experience with other styles of clothing, they're uncomfortable in anything, and they assume it's the fault of the clothing.
Right.
No, it's their lack of experience, both awareness that it even exists, the variety. They don't have the options anymore. They're locked into looking like each other. And we've got a lot of mega problems that have come out of this. Don't let it happen here.
Absolutely. A lot of, there's always, a discussion about appearance. So how does appearance impact your achievement of goals in your personal, professional, and social life?
Okay, so you bring up the word appearance, which is just another word for image or vice versa. So there's image or self-presentation. Some people who don't like the word image applied to us, they think it's vain and such. So we can go back to the word appearance, but self-presentation, how we present ourselves to others. When someone meets us or sees us that first time, we haven't yet spoken or interacted, so all they have to go on is this visual self-presentation or self-representation. Now, generally, without thought, it's a reflection of who we are inside, our values, attitudes, interests, personality traits. In image management, we want to make that an active projection to communicate to others who we really are. And a lot of people, in fact, I just read it in your newspaper this morning, actress Jodie Foster, making movies to figure out who she is. Well, we're going to give you directions to go with that, values, and there's good research on values and values communication. So our clients or students can be taught to recognize what their values. And of course, values are just what's important to us. Now that's where the fun thing I love is what we find as I meet you and other Indian individuals, our values really aren't much different.
Yes.
We have a lot of outward visual differences, and yet when we get acquainted, we're very much the same, and this is worldwide. But if we can be taught to recognize our values, we can be taught to communicate them to others. If we can recognize our own personality traits, we can learn to project them to other people. And that's where I want us to go, is with an active communication, using clothing as that visual communicator. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Completely.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have this confusion about image and first impression, and many people think that they are the same things. So how do you differentiate between two?
Well, the image is that self-presentation. It's the visual representation of that individual. And first impression is literally an occasion. Now, everybody assumes it only happens once. But you know, these people come into your office, every day is another opportunity for another first impression. But what people are missing there is that the first impression is on the wearer. Now, this jacket I'm wearing today has a lighter weight shoulder pad. But I feel it, and it communicates me to stand a little taller. And even there, standing taller, guess what? My lungs lift and fill with more air. I have more energy. I'm more alive, alert. All of these positive things happen with reference to it. But this first impression is the first acquaintance with this person, and we are all going to make, and we can say perceptions or assessments. People get hung up about the word judgments. And we have to make judgments. What we don't want to be, and we teach our students and our family members, not to be judgmental. We want to accept one another.
You explain image and first impression with a cause and effect.
Yes,
example.
definitely.
So if you could just explain a little bit of that so that people are very clear about how
Cause
exactly
and
it works.
effect.
Yes.
Well, going back to what I mentioned before, these communicators in dress. Okay, here's something. Everybody says, look out for the statement you're making. Careful of the message you're sending. But nobody knows what's doing the talking. It's the elements of design, the lines, shapes, colors, textures, and patterns. And I mentioned earlier, straight lines communicate alert. I hear. I know what I'm doing. I've got knowledge, abilities. I'm going to get this job done. And then diagonal lines communicate action. I'm really going to get myself involved and accomplish something. Now, we slop around in t-shirts. We literally, and I wear t-shirts too, and they're comfortable. And I will make a designation between underwear t-shirts. That's just a plain round neckline. It's an underwear. It might be dyed blue or red or whatever, but it's still an underwear t-shirt. Where a beautiful tee could have, and that's T-E-E, we'll call it a t-shirt of that sort. It can be beautiful, beautiful colors, a beautiful pattern on it, maybe even a little bit of fun embellishment. And that's going to influence us we're going to feel more lively and so on. You kind of got to get me back to where we were doing with this. But the clothing, those lines, shapes, colors, textures, and patterns are going to communicate to the viewer. And the viewer is going to respond to us based and make assumptions, assessments, perceptions judgments about us. Now, you told me we were going to be doing this little interview today. I personally chose not to wear a black suit. That's very stereotypical. Black is a very authoritative, assertive kind of coloration. I didn't want to appear that formal, that assertive. So I wore some softer colors today. I also didn't wear a navy blue pinstripe. That straight, alert line. I wanted to look a little more relaxed. I want your viewers to feel a little more relaxed.
And not intimidate me.
Okay, that too. That too.
Yeah.
But so I'm hoping that this floral pattern, now it's not little cute, ditzy little animals or flowers. It's larger, it's bold, it's on a tapestry fabric which has more substance. And that's generally what I want us to communicate, is that we have substance. I might be talking about clothing and dress in terms of style with substance. Clothing with style and ease, with good fit, enough ease in the fabric, which I certainly got here. Totally comfortable moving. I don't have any problem with clothing cutting into my body, constricting my body, anything of that sort. I'm comfortable. The clothing, as I said, affects the way we think, the way we feel, the way we act, and only then the way others react. And with the image management, we want to control, have the cause of what we're communicating to others, create an atmosphere, an environment for achieving the kind of response from others that we're looking for in the achievement of our personal and professional goals. And you know, you can have the con man out there. Do you know what a con man is? That's somebody who's dishonest. So I often say the achievement of our worthy goals. Okay, so the positive we want there.
Right. So what is the knowledge or the information that you would like to share with the budding image consultants who are planning to make a profession in the field of image consulting?
You know, I gotta have a brain.
Oh yes.
And they gotta use it. Most controversial field, dress and image, yes. But also an interdisciplinary field. There's literally not an occupation, a field of study in the world that clothing doesn't have some connection to. And so this budding or potential or dreamer who thinks she wants to go into this field that we're in, they've got to study and learn all of these interdisciplinary aspects of dress. I teach when I throw that out there. We work with semiotic nonverbal communication through the physical, psychological, social, and aesthetic aspects of dress, grooming, and body language. And that's a mouthful, but it's also a career field that you've got to study for. Right. And then to work in it, they've also got to be aware of what's happening in society, in their own cultural and social environment, because that is going to determine their own marketing efforts, their plans. And when I'm teaching our students, I'm teaching them over the decades that I've worked in this field, what did I have to be aware of? What was happening? What was coming that I could prepare for? Because one marketing plan that we work out 1 year, 3 years later, may be completely inappropriate for how society has evolved. So they've got to be aware of their subject matter content and know it frontwards, backwards, and upside down. And have it in their head to come out of their mouth when they're needing it, okay? And we never say, you are, about that client. They appear, it appears what they're communicating. So specialty language that they've got to learn and to be sensitive. Oh yes. My goodness, be sensitive. Themselves more sensitive to the various verbal and nonverbal cues of the potential or the actual client. Sensitive to them, and then bringing to bear all of those variables we've learned about to know which ones apply to that client. So in fact, we can advise them accurately with options too.
And what has been your experience with the India connection?
oh, well, I love it. If nothing else, it's a whole education for me.
Yeah.
Now, just even today, I had to ask someone based on something I read in the newspaper here, today's newspaper, and it was talking about something with reference to dress, and it referred to a kind of an occasion here, and I didn't know what it was. So, you know, every day I'm here, every hour, I can need some educational input. I'm being exposed to this whole completely different culture, which I'm loving. But, you know, you go back in my career, or even my upbringing, there was no way I would know that one day I would have this India connection, what I call my India connection on my website.
Right.
Yeah. And it's a magnificent growing experience for me. It makes my life fascinating. I've been in the field for so long. I am getting a lot of people saying, Judith, when are you going to retire? I'm not. Or they'll say, don't you get bored? No, never.
And we won't let you.
And I'm fine with that. But so here at this phase in my life, I'm having all of this social orientation, exposure, education to the Indian culture, the Indian people, and I'm loving it.
And I think it's been almost 8 years that we are associated.
That's what we were figuring out the other day.
Absolutely. And I think we were talking about India being your second home.
Just about.
Yes.
I had a realization I mentioned on the airplane coming. Just this momentary awareness that I wasn't nervous about going. I knew where I was going. I was comfortable. And I got excited about coming.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, we were excited.
Home away from home.
Yes, completely. Mm-hmm. And in the end, I mean, would you like to give any message to the audience who are listening to our conversation?
Oh boy, is that a heavy laden question, girl. My goodness. To increase their awareness. Yeah, that would be my for our listeners. To become more aware of ways how their appearance, their dress, grooming, body language, how they care for and carry themselves is affecting them and the achievement of their goals or not. Because it's a resource to be used, to be valued, and to be applied.
Right.
Okay?
So this was Judith Rasband, a perfectionist. And when you work with a perfectionist, your work never gets over.
And yet I'm going to say something here. A lot of people think being a perfectionist is negative. It's not. No, it's nothing more than trying to do things the best way we know how.
Correct.
And we also teach with that flexibility.
And that also keeps us on the toes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So thank you so much. This was Suman Agarwal and Judith Rasband on ICBI Facebook Live. Stay tuned for more updates and information. Bye-bye.